controversy erupts as Red Bull formally challenges Ferrari and McLaren over alleged flexi-wing breaches. Could the FIA crack down before the season even begins? Plus, McLaren's secret weapon for Melbourne, and how Red Bull's RB21 aims to reclaim dominance. Stay tuned for all the latest updates from the world of Formula One. The Formula One flexi-wing debate is back in the spotlight as Red Bull has reportedly filed an official and accusatory complaint against Ferrari and McLaren. According to a report by F1 Analisi Tecnica, the Austrian team has submitted evidence to the FIA prompting the governing body to conduct inspections at Ferrari's Maranello base and McLaren's Woking headquarters. The controversy stems from suspicions surrounding flexing rear wings, an issue that has previously sparked debate in the paddock. Last season, McLaren faced scrutiny over their mini DRS concept, with their rear wing showing signs of parting down the straight in Baku. While the FIA introduced on-board cameras to monitor potential breaches, no violations were found. However, new and stricter deflection tests are set to be implemented from the start of the 2025 season, with cameras focusing on rear wings initially, before expanding to front wings by round 9 in Barcelona. Despite these measures, Red Bull's technical director Pierre Wash remains unconvinced, escalating concerns to the FIA stewards during Bahrain testing. After reportedly receiving unsatisfactory responses, Red Bull has taken matters further, preparing what is described as an official and accusatory file against their rivals. The FIA's upcoming visits to Ferrari and McLaren will be crucial in determining whether the flexi-wing controversy is a legitimate regulatory concern or simply a strategic move by Red Bull to unsettle its competitors before the season begins. The governing body's increased scrutiny comes amid rising tensions in the paddock, with teams seeking every possible advantage in a tightly contested championship battle. While Red Bull keeps a close watch on its competitors, the team is also focused on regaining dominance after a turbulent 2024 season. Despite Max Verstappen securing his 4th consecutive World Championship, Red Bull slipped to 3rd in the constructors' standings, behind McLaren and Ferrari. Now, their latest challenger, the RB21, aims to restore their supremacy. Red Bull has worked extensively to address balance issues that plagued the RB20, particularly in slow corners. The team modified most of the aspects of the car that might not be as visible as the older model. The overall concept remains the same, but significant changes have been made beneath the surface, focusing on aerodynamics, cooling, and suspension adjustments. Last season, Red Bull's car was extremely fast but difficult to extract its full potential from, creating instability in slow corners. The new approach seeks to provide a more predictable handling experience for the drivers. The team has chosen to slightly reduce the peak potential of the car in favor of a broader operational window, allowing for more consistent performance across different circuits. Despite these changes, early testing data suggests that the RB21 is already showing improvements, reportedly lapping 3 to 4 tenths quicker than its predecessor in Bahrain. However, with unpredictable track conditions, the true potential of the car remains uncertain. The adjustments made by Red Bull focus on a more consistent and manageable aerodynamic profile, reducing the extreme downforce fluctuations that affected driver performance in the RB20. The goal is to provide Verstappen and his teammate with a more predictable car, particularly in slower corners, where stability was a major concern last year. Additionally, Red Bull has made refinements to their cooling system, suspension setup, and overall aerodynamic efficiency, ensuring the RB21 is more adaptable across different circuits. The team is optimistic that these changes will allow them to compete more consistently throughout the season, rather than facing the performance swings seen in 2024. As pre-season testing wraps up, McLaren appears to be playing the long game. Data suggests the team deliberately held back on engine power in Bahrain, possibly saving their full potential for the opening race in Melbourne. Despite showing strong race pace in simulations, McLaren refrained from pushing their Mercedes engine to the limit, avoiding the use of Pirelli's softest compounds. This strategic move could mean that McLaren is keeping their true performance under wraps until the first official qualifying session in Australia. Interestingly, Carlos Sainz topped the timesheets in Bahrain, yet his top speed figures suggest he was pushing harder in the corners rather than relying on pure straight-line performance. Meanwhile, teams like Aston Martin and Haas also appear to be keeping their cards close to their chests, with significant room for improvement in their setups. McLaren's decision to hold back could be a sign of confidence, as the team may believe they have a strong enough package without revealing everything in pre-season testing. Their approach contrasts with Ferrari's, who appeared more aggressive in testing, potentially indicating they were evaluating the full range of their car's performance limits. Other teams, such as Aston Martin and Haas, could also have more to show once the season officially begins, as testing conditions in Bahrain were far from optimal. The varying approaches to pre-season testing have left analysts speculating about the true pecking order ahead of the Australian Grand Prix. With tensions rising over the flexi-wing debate and teams hiding their true pace ahead of Melbourne, the 2025 F1 season is shaping up to be one of the most intriguing yet. Will Ferrari and McLaren be penalised for potential regulation breaches? Can Red Bull reclaim the top spot? And what surprises are still in store as teams unleash their full potential? The upcoming FIA inspections will be a major talking point in the paddock, as any findings could have serious implications for Ferrari and McLaren. Meanwhile, Red Bull's refined RB21 is expected to be a serious contender, but whether it is enough to reclaim dominance remains to be seen. McLaren's performance in testing left many analysts impressed. Helmut Marko, Red Bull's motorsport advisor, suggested McLaren could have as much as a 2 or 3/10 advantage over their competitors based on long-run pace. The MCL39 has undergone significant changes from last year's championship-winning MCL38, featuring a reprofiled nose, a redesigned airbox and side pots, and an innovative front suspension layout. But McLaren may not have shown their full hand yet. Tom Coronel, a well-known Dutch racing pundit, suspects that McLaren has been playing it safe in testing, keeping some of their true capabilities under wraps. "I really think they are covering up something and don't want to show something," he said. "Ultimately, if you look at the runs, there is little movement in the car. It's very consistent. I was seriously impressed." This sentiment is echoed by McLaren Racing CEO Zak Brown, who hinted at a hidden feature on the MCL39 that has yet to be uncovered. Speaking with Sky Sports during pre-season testing, Brown teased, "There's some stuff on there that I don't think has been totally noticed yet, but I think that will happen in due course when everyone gets their photography out." If McLaren is indeed hiding a game-changing innovation, the Australian Grand Prix could be the first real opportunity to see it in action. With Brown predicting that the 2025 field will be closer than ever, the Woking-based team could be positioning themselves for a serious title challenge. Meanwhile, Red Bull's RB21 has drawn attention for the opposite reason. On the surface, the car appears nearly identical to last year's RB20, leading some to question whether the reigning champions have done enough to address their weaknesses. However, Tom Coronel warns against underestimating Red Bull's ability to innovate in ways that aren't immediately visible. "This is the big magic trick," Coronel said, "but of course it's about what happened there. That's where 90% of the car is. I mean, the rest is just a cap on top. There's still a lot to come out from Red Bull. A lot." Despite Max Verstappen clinching his 4th consecutive Drivers' Championship last year, Red Bull struggled with consistency, going winless for 10 races before Verstappen's victory in Brazil. Marko has suggested that Verstappen himself, rather than the RB20, was responsible for securing the title. Coronel, however, dismissed this notion, saying, "But you can't become world champion in a Flintstone car." "I agree, with Max in the car it worked, otherwise it wouldn't have worked, but Max doesn't win in a stake. Max doesn't win in the Williams." With pre-season testing providing more questions than answers, all eyes are now on Melbourne, where teams will finally reveal their true performance. One thing is certain, the 2025 Formula One season is already off to an explosive start. That's all for today's edition of F1 News. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for all the latest updates from the world of motorsport. See you next time.